Welcome back to Fitness and Finance Radio. I am your host, Jennifer Scherer, along with my host, Jeffrey Smith, and our co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing today, Tony?
Hosts, co-hosts, hard to keep track of these days. The kids these days with their co-hosts and their video games and their pacemakers and their trials. I can't. Speaking of trials and tribulations, we've had them technologically, haven't we?
Oh my goodness, yes.
Well, we're doing a quick show today, maybe a little shorter than usual because it's really a part 2 to last week's show, which is we're talking about saboteurs, and this isn't a Mission Impossible episode with Tom Cruise. This is a real life way to deal with and not saboteur your own a situation, right? I mean, we're our own worst enemies when it comes to health and finance, aren't we?
Right.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's like that meme with Fred from the Scooby-Doo cartoon. They're like, who's been sabotaging my my diet, and then they pull the bag over and it's still Fred.
Yeah, I love that meme. Yeah, when they unmask the villain and it's you, it's still you. My favorite meme, completely unrelated, of course, that's why you have me on the show, just derail the whole conversation. It's one of the old memes with that classic dog, but he's got the phone up. They're holding a phone up to the dog's ear, and it says, "Yes, this is dog." It just says, "Hello, question mark. Yes, this is dog."
I love it.
It's just a dog. Why that's so funny to me? No idea. Why that was a huge meme? No idea. No explanation for it. But there are explanations for our health and our finance, our physical health, our financial health. So where do you guys want to take the conversation today?
Yeah, so I think I touched on a lot of stuff that was fairly personal, and I think Jennifer has some experiences too, and I really wanted to have her share some of those things because it's important that maybe if people are listening to this, certainly if guys are hearing it from me about some of the experiences I've had, it probably takes a little bit of pressure off of them for thinking the way I did, and making changes based off of that. But certainly women go through those experiences with their spouse or with someone, who they're supposed to be a circle of trust or have some, level of trust with them. And that can feel betrayed when you find out the truth. Right, Jen?
Yeah. I'll share with you a couple things personally that happened to me previously is in a relationship where I've always been passionate about working out and, eating well. And that's always been a priority for me. And, into the relationship, several years into the relationship, I was all of a sudden obsessed with exercise and eating well. Right. So, that for me it's almost like it's evidence of them being a control freak. Right. So they appear to be supportive in the beginning, but only when they're in control. So it's interesting where you might start out a relationship and a person might appear to have similar interests as you. And then all of a sudden they don't. But you're the obsessive one, right? You're the one that should come to their side of the fence. And it's undermining. It's undermining. And for me, it created this. I put the mirror up. I thought, man, is it something wrong here? Am I obsessed? So it made me question, who I am and my identity. And that is deep emotional chaos, really.
Right.
And so it's manipulation and you have to be aware of that. I would say no is a complete sentence. That's something I've learned, like things that would be said, like things like you should eat red meat, drink whole milk, and gain weight, and cut your hair, right?
Wow.
Wow, the hair.
That was
the hair is kind of what tipped it over the edge for me. That was kind of the deal breaker.
And that's
specific.
It's so anyway, just examining, other people's
Wow.
manipulation tactics and really being aware of,
Well,
do they have your best interest at
Did you
heart?
feel like you that there was some insecurity about how beautiful you are, and so that may have contributed to the factor of wanting you to gain weight and cut your hair, which is
Yeah, of
part of your beauty.
course. Yeah, of course. So I think, being able to say, I feel like in social situations and relationships, there's the food pushers too, where it's like, just have one more drink, or come on, live a little. It's just pizza, or it's just subtle guilt trips. I think that I would experience, like, you're no fun anymore,
Hmm.
and I think these people often feel threatened by our discipline, right? Or they can interpret it as more of a judgment of their own habits.
Yeah,
But it's
I
under the
definitely feel your lack of pizza angers me. Your your lack of pizza intake definitely irritates me, Jennifer.
Yeah.
As long as we're all being open and honest here today,
all about
bearing our souls. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the guy that's going to pizza shame you into eating
I
pizza.
love it.
That would be me. But you said you need to learn the full sentence. No is a full sentence. But I'm looking over here at Jeff, thinking, Jennifer, how do you say no to that face? How do you say no to the teddy bear that is Jeff Smith? Huh?
Well, the thing about when you have similar interests and you both have a respect for one another, there's no, like,
Doesn't come to that point. Yeah.
There's not a pressure to
well, there's
good.
mutual respect and
Right.
and encouragement, right? And everybody's on the same page.
Right.
But I think and that works in finances too, right? So I mean, the issue here is the control, right? Who has the control? Is this something that you can communicate better? And I think that's what we want to get to. Yes, we've identified the problem. These are real life problems, and we've dealt with those things personally, both of us, very, very entrenched for years into those situations where, at first it was more of a situation where we would accommodate, and then you realize, a few years later that you're you're completely different as a person, and you're like, wow, how did I get this far off course? And you realize that there is a real identity issue there, and you have to get back to who you are at the core, and that's tough. That's a tough swim upstream when you're facing these types of situations with your partner or someone close to you. So it's really important to get help and to seek help in those various areas that you have challenges. It might not just be food and money. There's other things that they try to control, or people can try to control. So understanding that you have, Jennifer said it, you have the right to say no. That is a really important thing. That is setting a boundary, and you don't need to explain to anybody why you said no.
Yeah.
So it's okay. And furthermore, you also have to take a look at, what's best for you, and obviously others around you. We're want to be empathetic and understand people and seek to understand, but also be very clear about what it is that you want. And then when you're clear, you're loving, right? When you're clear and you can say, hey, this isn't for me. I love you, but this is not for me. That is love. You're being honest, right? You're being you. And that is more important than anything. That's why some of the situations that we're talking about, I think people want you to be what they want you to be, not who you actually are, right?
Or they want to keep you where you were, so they can feel comfortable. Like, progress is a threat because there's that power struggle. And I think sometimes whether they realize it or not, they create an element of chaos emotionally just to keep you kind of off balance. And that's I think that's they're stealing your energy in that way, right? So I think the boundary part of this has to be looked at from a deeper level. Like, the boundaries are literally filters that protect your energy. If you're gonna surround yourself with people who consistently derail your progress, whether it's intentional or not, you have to have strong boundaries. Otherwise, you know, you're going to feel like you have to jump on their agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, like in speaking to my clients, journaling is really helpful, because part of this is like a lot of clients I work with is they have this part of them that feels guilty when they say no, right? Because they're a people pleaser. But where did they learn that? Like, saying no is the healthiest phrase a person can say for self-respect.
It's liberating.
It's so liberating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it takes practice, and it takes intentional. You have to be very intentional about it, because otherwise you'll find yourself just going with the flow.
But
sometimes the flow isn't what you want.
But don't you think that that speaks to, bringing clarity into your life, right? So if it is that, you don't say no for the sake of saying no, you say no because you have a better yes. And so you focus on the better yes, and you identify what it is that's invaluable to you. And then off of that is what you build your yeses and nos off of, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, if you say, geez, my goal is X, and in what is being proposed to you doesn't line up with X, maybe that's an easy no, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's a gray area, but still it doesn't lead to that end goal, then geez, maybe it's a no. But if it does, if it's uplifting, it's encouraging, you're saving money, you're making a purchase that will enhance your life, you're buying groceries that line up with your goal, great. That's easy. That's an easy yes, right? But understanding how those two things fit together is, the stronger you become with what it is that you desire, the easier it is to say no.
Mhm.
Yeah. I like the way you put that. I think it was a better yes. Or a greater yes. That your no can be a better yes. That's what your no really is. In other words, you you need to come out drinking and eat some pizza with us. When you say no, you're not saying no, I don't want to do what you want to do. You're saying yes to being healthier, yes to eating healthier, yes to not, maybe it's drinking, maybe it's yes to being wiser with my finances, and yes to doing a budget once a month, yes to working with a financial planner, rather than no, I don't want to, no, I'm not going to go out and spend money. What you're doing is you're saying, yes, I am going to be responsible. A better yes. The no's lead to a better yes. I love
100%
that.
of the time. Yeah. And Tony, you hit on something, right? So, and I think, when someone proposes that and you say no, yes, you can stop it at that. But if you're friends with these people, and they're asking you, you can say, hey, I'm not saying no to you. I'm saying no to the booze and the pizza. I'll be happy to bring some salsa water and some kale. Sorry. Some sad kale. But no,
which I will be sitting there massaging while you're eating your pizza. I'll be sitting there doing this, and they're like, what are you doing? I'm massaging kale. Thanks, Jennifer, for that, by the way.
You're welcome.
You may not get another
I don't mean to kale shame Jennifer. See, that's what they're talking about. Avoiding people in your life who do this type of thing. I'm the guy they're talking about.
No.
If you're a kale lover, or you think eating kale will be healthier, I'm the worst person, because I will openly mock you. No, that's just kidding. I'm kidding. You should eat healthier. In fact, I've been eating healthier, and my daughter and her friend are living with us now, and they've been cooking healthy meals for us because they're very healthy. So I'm actually, since the first time since the Carter administration, I'm eating vegetables again. So that's a plus. And last night, my wife and I actually went and played pickleball.
No way.
Yeah, and there's really nice pickleball courts within. They're about 2.5 blocks away. And so we walked down there, and for the last couple nights, that's what we've been doing, is playing pickleball.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You leave the kitchen and go into the kitchen, right?
Right. There you go. Have you guys played pickleball?
Jennifer is pretty good at pickleball.
I have played pickleball. It's been during COVID. I actually took a few classes.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten back into it since, but it
was
fun.
I haven't taken any lessons, but my daughter and her boyfriend kind of taught us how. So Anyway,
Nice.
I didn't mean to get us off track, but yeah,
No, that's cool.
a better yes. I love that, Jeff.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Usually it's Jennifer that comes up with those nuggets, but look at you
I like
shining
it.
on the show
I
today.
like it because if you think about it, right, every time that you say no, right, to a saboteur or any type of sabotage, you're saying yes to freedom from whatever it is, right?
That no will
And
lead to a better yes.
exactly. I
Right.
love it.
Well,
Yeah.
I want you to think about how it feels when someone pressures you. It feels
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah.
It feels awful, and you're conflicted, right? And so that feels it forces you to confront something. And a lot of times people are uncomfortable with confrontation, so they just lean into it and they just decide to do it. They give into it, and then it gets easier and easier to give into it. So positive momentum and negative momentum work in the same way.
Yeah.
Right? If you're able to say yes to these bad decisions, you're going to say yes to more of them. And I can tell you, once you get in a cycle where you feel shame for one of those decisions, they will happen faster and faster and faster. But conversely, when you say no and you understand the bonds that are breaking off of you, and all of the guilt can go away as you say no, and you build in strength and self-respect, it will also be a positive momentum, and it works the same direction. You'll start making better choices everywhere, not just
Yeah.
in one specific area, but you will start to understand that your chin can be a little bit raised, your shoulders can be back a little bit, and you have something going. And I can tell you, there's nothing more valuable than freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from whatever it is that tries to entrap you, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think what you're trying to say is people in general will feel left behind as you evolve. And I'll share personally, right? So I wanted to go back to school during COVID to get my master's and pursue my master's in nutrition and become a dietitian. And I presented that, right, to my partner. And all of a sudden, I'm obsessed. Right. So that was very much a tactic for me to question my desire to go back to school. But ultimately, I chose to continue my education. But the point
You
is, it's
chose
not
life.
it's not easy, is my point, and this is real life stuff. And when you have the support of a partner that is with you and for you, you will know it.
Yeah.
There is a stark difference. And I think Jeff and I can talk, we've experienced both sides of the fence. And I think that gives us perspective, maybe a little bit more, because we were in relationships like that. But it's so amazing to be with somebody who lifts you up, and doesn't try to convince you that you need to go a different route or,
You're not good enough.
yeah,
Or,
that type of thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
You're no fun anymore. You
whatever.
used to be spontaneous or, anyhow, it's a good, I think their sabotage is a reflection of their own discomfort. It's not your failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's an important message. What, Jeff, were you going to say?
I just was reiterating that it's it's important to I lost my train of thought, to be honest with you.
I messed you up. I interrupted. I'm bad. That's my bad. That's my bad. I interrupt. But yeah, you're right. And I think this has been a great discussion. We can wrap it up for today. But before we go, kind of maybe just kind of summarize. And I know the goal here is to help others out there with their physical health, their mental health, and their financial health. And let our listeners and viewers once again know how you guys do that, and if they have questions, how they can get a hold of you. I know you love hearing from our listeners and viewers, so let them know how to get a hold of you.
So for Fredericksburg Fitness, you can go to our website, and that's fbergfitness.com. And actually, we also just reserved another domain, fxbg.com, or no, fxbgfitness.com, which is very common in this town to abbreviate Fredericksburg as FXBG Fitness. So click on the link at the top of the page. It says free discovery call, and you'll be booked on my calendar.
Awesome. How about you, Jeff? If somebody has financial questions, if they want to get a second opinion on where they're at, or get a financial plan in place or a retirement income plan, I know you help a lot of people with that. How can they get a hold of you?
Sure. You can go to theretirementsmith.com and also click on a link to set up a no obligation conversation with me. My number is 540-371-9777. And we are here to help for sure on many fronts, but certainly all the things that Tony mentioned, we've been doing for quite a long time. So would love to hear from you for sure.
Awesome. Well, you guys are great. We overcame some trials of our own today. I love that. And there was a ghost in the machine. We were hearing voices earlier.
Yes, we were.
I thought we were going to all have to check in together and be institutionalized, but it was there. We all three heard it.
Yes.
All right. Well, hey, I'll let you guys go. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Fitness and Finance Radio with our hosts, Jeff Smith and Jennifer Scherer.